So for you, like, you know, like obviously exactly that. I mean, you've been touching so many lives and individuals all around the world. What, I mean, I've watched all of them and I love every performance you've done, but for you, what was an episode series that people could either look up on YouTube or look up on Darman's channel that you did that really, you know, where you were done filming and you were like, that was deep. That hit me even hard and touched your, you know, inner core. What episode would you say that you've done was your most memorable?
Mm. Um, I really liked the one where my husband left me and I had cancer.
That was mine too.
That's one of them. I really liked the one where the foster child is mistreated. The one with Shantae played the foster mom. Um, I really liked the breastfeeding one on the airplane as well. And I liked the one where my birth daughter wouldn't have anything to do with me. We're up for adoption. I think those four, as far as like heart wrenching and touching, I think those might be my top four. Yeah.
I know you recently did one latest episode where, you know, you played a Karen and you know, it was
Which
sort of
one?
a it was the racial one where, you know, with the other black girl you work with there, and you
Ricky?
started, I get, yeah, and I think you had like either called the cops on either the kid, and you had like, you know, it was definitely one of those racial equality, you know, episodes. And for you, like, how did you feel playing the antagonist in such, especially in the climate that we're having right now in the world, playing
Yeah.
a character like that and having to be technically a racist, you know,
Yeah.
on camera? How did that filming on that day go for you?
Well, if it's the one I think you're talking about where I called the cops on Ricky because she had a white daughter.
Yeah.
The, okay. You know what? That one was an issue. It's probably one of the few where Ricky and I were both like, I don't know about this. This is not jiving with us. And we
Hmm.
both own reasons for being like, we can't do this. And
And what
we
was your
couldn't.
reason?
Well, first of all, I was like, if I really am this racist of a person and calling the, like, if I am really this racist, there is no way in HE double hockey sticks that I'm going to invite her over to my house. That is not
Hmm.
legit. That is not real. So, you know, because we've always got these great endings of what is the ideal situation. If the world were the way it was supposed to be, every evil person would learn their lesson in 5 minutes, right?
Hmm.
So, yeah, so my issue was with that, and Ricky also had issues with how it was, and she was like, house eater, asked me to come over. And so Ricky, she added it's one of the few times where she's added her own lines. She added a line or two to that where she said, you know, this happens to us all the time, and to be honest with you, it really hurts, you know, all this stuff. But she was able to justify saying she would come over after that so she could model what it was like to be the bigger person and
Hmm.
for the sake of our daughters to be friends. So it took a lot of like talking through to wrap my head around it, and you know, to really be humbled at the end of 5 minutes to where I would want to someone who I'm so racist to invite her over to my house. So that was one of those that was hard for us. I didn't know how it was going to come off. And I knew that character I couldn't just play like an evil, mean person. So instead for me, I had to play her like overly hyper concerned and worried and thinking this girl was really for real getting kidnapped. And I had to play it in a way where it was like justified that by the end I would be asking her over for dinner. So that was a tough one to pull off acting wise, to be honest.
So have you ever had like on a episode that you shot with that where, you got the script and you were like, this doesn't speak to me, and you said no?
Um, no. I usually wait till I'm on set to be like, hey, this isn't working. Anything about it. um, so there was, the suspension of disbelief sometimes can only go so far, but somehow we have to make it work. There was one recently where I did have an issue with it because I do have a son with autism, and I was like, this isn't how it would go. This is not legit. This is not medically how it would go. I just,
Mm-hmm.
a, the director texted the powers that be and was like, should we do something about this? And then they just wanted us to move forward. Well, guess what? We just ended up reshooting that scene last week. And then I got the script and I was like, you know what? It's still not right. I'd never really said anything before, but this is a topic I know about, being my son has
Mm-hmm.
autism. So I went back and I said, you know what? This isn't medically accurate. This is what you need to do instead. And they did take my advice and they were thankful for it. So, we reshot it based on that. So, a lot of times in Hollywood, you can't step on the writer's toes because they will be offended and all that. But luckily, I didn't find that to be true. They were open and they were grateful for the feedback.
How much, as you said, writers, how much is of those stories, is it coming from Darman or is it coming from actual, like, different writers?
Um, I don't honestly know the percentage, but I think like 90% of it is him. I think he's the main. I think he does all. I think he's pretty much the lead on everything.
Okay.
And I think have a helper, maybe someone to format it and polish it. But I think over 90% of it is him.
How long does it take, like, for you guys to shoot those episodes you guys, put out?
Yeah, when I first started, it would only be one day per video, and they would be long days sometimes. Now they usually take 2 days per video, and some of the scripts are getting longer, so some are scheduled for 3 days, and some big ones even 4 days. Like I think we had, I don't think it's released yet, the collab with Big Boy.
Okay.
We did a collab with Big Boy, and I think that was like 4 days of filming. So some of the scripts are getting longer. So yeah, I think it's based on the shoot pages. Used to be scripts were 5 or 6 pages. Now they're then 10 pages, and I have one coming up that's like 14 pages. And the girl with the skin issues who became the billionaire of It Cosmetics, I think that one was over 20 pages. So that was like a 4-day shoot.
So how much preparation do you have before, like when you get your script, from the time you get your script to when you start shooting? How much preparation do you normally have?
When I first started out, sometimes you'd only know a day in advance, sometimes 2 days. Now they actually have like a production team, and they're more on top of it. Now I get a week or two notice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so for you, like, obviously, as I said, because of this series, it's allowed you the opportunities to be, seen, recognized by millions on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say for yourself the difference is between, in your journey, the writing, the acting, or the producing? What would you say for yourself has been A, the harder medium, and B, what are you more passionate about between the three?
It's always been my writing. That's always been my number one. I thought my plan when I moved here was like, you know what? I'm gonna try to become famous as an actor so that I have an audience base that will buy my writing. My writing has always been my heart and soul. I've published 3 poetry books, 4 if you count the second edition that I rewrote everything in. But
Mm-hmm.
I always used to say, if you cut me, I bleed poetry. I am so
I write too, so I hear you on that.
yes, yes. For me, that's what it is, because it's my message, and when I'm acting, I'm telling everyone else's messages, whether they may be good messages. But I think if God put a message in you, you got to get it out. So I'm passionate about the stuff I feel like God is wanting me to get out, like the online course I've been filming all this year, and yeah.
Have you ever thought, since you are passionate about the writing, of approaching like the Darman, production team, and maybe bringing in one of your stories to tell in that format?
I thought about it at one point. They did something different once where they had me do a very outside of the box one where I was a mom that had a nervous breakdown. I don't know if you saw the one where I have 2 kids and they spilled Doritos everywhere.
Okay.
They were trying a new format to see if it would work. And that was my most emotional, like that was so real and relatable to me about what it's like trying to be a working mom. And I just was so emotional. I was just on set, just we're not even filming yet, and I'm crying thinking about it. And Ruben's like, save it, save it, save it for when we're on camera. And it was, they were trying some new format of me just being a monologue, and I was actually talking to the camera saying, I bet you wondering why I'm like sitting here like this. And I had all these scenarios that I was like, oh, I'm going to write some of these. But the analytics showed that that one did not do well. That format of like talking to the camera and having it be like a monologue did not do well. So they didn't do any more of those. But if they did, oh man, I got this scenario and this scenario and this scenario, that like that. But screenwriting is not my favorite form of writing. So I like prose and poetry, and I've written screenplays, I've written pilots, I've done all that. It's not fun for me.
Mm-hmm. Guys, don't forget, check us out, of course. Welcome to another edition of HotTopicsCelebTV.com. Tonight, joining us, Katherine Norland from the Darman series. Don't forget, you guys can drop your comments and questions below in the comment box for Katherine. We will answer it towards the end of this podcast series for the Katherine Norland story. Again, don't forget, you can check us out each and every week. Tuesday nights for Hot Topic Celeb TV After Dark. Each and every Thursday, the Alliance Entertainment Indie Music Showcase. Independent artists from all around the world performing here on Hot Topic Celeb TV. And also, of course, each and every Sunday for Sunday Service, in conversation with Hollywood's actors, producers, directors, and most influential faces in entertainment. So for yourself, Katherine, in a sense, number one, like, you've been doing the acting now in the sense for over 20 years, the writing, the poetry. What's next for you? What goals do you have that you have not accomplished that you hope to accomplish now that you've been able to sort of use this platform of the Darman series to be recognized? What's next for you?
Well, the plans that I have coming up, I don't know if it's going to make a difference that some people recognize me, because the plans aren't necessarily in front of the camera type of things, but I want to I want to write like a self-help book, and I want to get a traditional publisher for that. I have a couple memoirs I want to write about my experiences recovering from like the neonatal intensive care unit. Both my children were born premature, and that's like,
same here.
Oh, wow.
Not my kids, just me.
Oh, you can get PTSD from that. Every day you don't know if your child's going to live or die. I have a lot that I want to talk about on that, which I haven't gotten to. I'm also looking into breaking into directing. So that goes a little scary for me, but there's some projects that I want to like be at the helm of. I don't just want to be in it. I want to like tell the whole story and paint the whole picture. So that's a big one for me, but yeah.
If you direct right now, what's the project that you want to do?
I actually have one. I have a couple scripts I'm looking at. One in particular is it's a story about a young girl whose career doesn't get. She has to choose between premature motherhood. She got pregnant when she had a basketball scholarship, but finds out she's pregnant. So
Okay.
choose between motherhood and her dreams that's part of it.
So for you, like, how do you juggle the balance of the business between being a mother, a wife, and just being in the business itself? How do you juggle all that?
I just have to take one day at a time and one project at a time. There's no real balance. I think balance is a misconception. It's like you're either whatever you're doing, just be full in it. If you're spending time with your kids, don't be trying to be online working on your other stuff. I think just whatever you're doing, be in the moment. And that's the only way to really find balance, because you can't say, I'm going to spend 20 minutes with my kids and I'm going to work on this for 20 minutes and I'm going to do this. That kind of stuff doesn't happen. So I say just be focused on what you're doing at the time, and do set aside time and schedule time for all the things you love, including your family. And don't just be a workaholic, which I have a tendency to do sometimes.
When you're not doing the Darman series and you're not writing poetry, what are the other things that you're passionate about?
Gosh. I'm passionate about teaching people
Okay.
how to see themselves and love themselves the way God does, so they have the courage and the confidence to go after their dreams. I have a real heart for people who have self-worth issues, because that was one of the big things I had to overcome to even be where I'm at right now.
So like if you right now like were somebody that was going through those self issues, those doubts, those self doubts, whether it be about getting into the business or being in the business, and if you could speak to somebody on the audience here right now that's going through that same thing, what message would you give to them?
Oh my goodness. That things aren't as bad as you think, that you're not as bad as you think you are, that things will get better, that everything is possible for you if you put your trust and belief in God and in the process, and that you stop beating yourself up and you just allow yourself to have faults. It's okay to have faults. You don't have to be perfect. That success isn't based around how perfect you are. It's like how much you go for it, how much you play the game, how much you keep getting up after you fall down. I think that's a lot of it.
It's a very good message. So for you, like, you have obviously, seen the ups and the downs, of the business.
Mm-hmm.
What is for you say has been your biggest accomplishment and biggest regret?
Oh. Biggest accomplishment. I don't feel like I've had the biggest one yet, but probably the biggest accomplishment was just getting out of my own way to go after my dreams. That is the biggest thing. Everything else is icing on the cake after that. Probably putting out my first poetry book was a big deal for me. I did that when I had a premature child. They told me wasn't going to live past a year old, was on oxygen, like meds 20 times a day, 10 doctor's appointments a week, and somehow in the midst of that, I still managed to put out my first poetry book. That's probably, it's maybe a minor thing, but it was so much mind stuff to overcome. And
Mm-hmm.
talk about accomplishments, they want to talk about big giant things they've done, and for me it's just overcoming the gray matter, just the talk between your two ears telling you all the reasons you can't. That's a big one. And what was the second thing you asked?
Biggest regret that you have. If you could go back 20 years and change something.
You know what? I think I would say it would be not believing in myself soon enough. Self-sabotaging myself, saying no before other people could say no to me.
Mm-hmm.
Saying no to opportunities because I was afraid to get the no.
So many people, I said, I have this as a weekly a weekly discussion with people. It feels like where, you know, people ask me where I get that when I'm like, I'm not, because for me, I've never had that self-doubt because
That's great.
mainly because I guess, and this the fact of relating to your kids, I was born premature. I wasn't supposed to be here. I was on life support.
Yeah.
And I think, and then me going through this, the personal knockdowns that I've gotten through in my life,
Yeah.
I'm just like, you know, I only know one way now. Like I've never known anything because I'm like, we're only in this world for a minute,
Yeah.
not a lifetime. We're in it for a minute, and you got to make it matter, and you got to make it count, and you got to say to yourself, you know, like, what legacy do I want to leave behind?
Yeah.
What's my story? What's my message? What are, you know, because there's so many people, number one, that like, and you see it every day in Hollywood, you know, a celebrity dies,
Yeah.
millions and millions of people crying, rest in peace.
Yeah.
But a regular person that does, like a doctor or nurse, somebody who's, you know, who's out changing lives, doing things for the world, they could die today and nobody bats an eye. Like nobody makes a production about it. And that's, to me, is where I say is like, you know, like you gotta leave your imprint
Yeah.
one way or another into this world. So for you, like, if it was all to end today
Yeah.
for you, what would you want to have written as your message on your tombstone?
You know, I should think of something brilliant, but the first thing that popped into my mind was she did it all for the glory of God. That's what comes to mind.
Okay. And for you, like, you know, what are the things for yourself? I mean, obviously, as I said, you know, the challenges that you've gone through, you know, raising kids who are premature and dealing with that, you know, what advice would you give to somebody who reaches that, I guess you would say, self-doubt, going through all those things that you've gone through? What advice would you give to them to keep pushing forward?
Well, you have to keep going. You can't give up, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how many no's you get, because the time is going to pass anyway. Why let it pass not working on what you love and what you're passionate about? You're going to get old anyway. You know, people make the excuse, oh, I'm too old or it's too late. It's never too late. My friend Mel Novak says, you're not old until you're cold. And I like
True.
to say, as long as you have a pulse, you have a purpose. So there's no sense in just sitting in a rocking chair when you're wrinkled like a raisin full of regrets. You need to go for everything now. There's no point in not going for it. Whatever excuse you have, this is, you know, I'm putting together a little mini course called the 3 B's, how you can get through everything in life if you just have 3 B's. No matter what you're going through, if you got the Bible, you got your best friend, and you got your browser, you can figure anything out. You may say, oh, I can't run a race because I don't have a leg. Look at the Olympians that don't have legs and running races. Oh, I can't become a famous actor because I'm too fat. Look at them. Whatever your excuse is, trust me, someone has overcome and done what you want to do with the very same things that you say are stopping you. So you have to get the buts out of the way. You can't say, I want to be an actor, but I want to be a musician, but I don't have 3 fingers. I have 3 fingers missing. You have to replace your buts. Everything that follows a but stinks. So let's replace our buts with ands. I want to be an actor and I'm fat. I want to be a musician and I'm missing 3 fingers. Whatever it is, if you take the but out of it, it doesn't become so heavy. It makes it doable. It just makes, and this is what's going on. I want to be a series regular on a show and I have 2 kids. Whatever it is, it's an and, it's not a but. It's
No, and I honestly, I hate when people use that narrative always with me where they're like, you know, I always wanted to be an actress. I'm like, well, then fucking act. like, there's nothing stopping you. I always wanted to be a model. I've always wanted to be well, then do it. Like,
right.
Especially, like, understand, like, when we started, 20 something plus years ago, the opportunities were different. Like, we didn't have social media and all these things to put
Yeah.
ourselves out there. We had to learn the craft, study the craft, figure it out, jump
Yeah.
into the deep end, and sort of with no life jacket and be like, I don't sink. And now there's so many resources for people, number one, to, do whatever you want to do. And it goes back to what I said, is that, like, how much are you committed to doing the work?
Yeah.
How much are you committed to the sacrifices? Because you're going to sacrifice friends. You're going to sacrifice health. You're going to sacrifice relationships. You're going to sacrifice so many things in this business to get to that point. But that's the difference between winners and losers. They're willing to make that sacrifice. Like, I mean, I talked about this with my brother, Shane Johnson from Power, who plays Cooper sax. And, he said it last week, was like, when is it enough? Like, for example, a guy like Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, or 50 Cent.
Mm-hmm.
When is there enough where you've made enough money? Because they've made so much money. When is it enough for you to, like, be that famous? Like, is there an end point? But some people, I think everyone has their story and the reasons why, of, like, where, for me, I think almost dying more than once is what made me say, when I got that second chance, I got stabbed back in 97.
Wow.
And I was laid literally on the ground with blood and shit coming out of my side. And I remember, as I'm gasping for air and catching my breath and praying that I'm able to walk away from this. You remember the movie Ghost?
Yes.
Okay, you remember when he died and his body came out of him and he's literally, like, standing over himself?
Yeah.
I literally had that same thing happen to me, like, where I saw myself. I literally spiritually saw myself standing over myself, watching myself breathe my last breath.
Wow.
And I remember saying, this cannot be how my story ends.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot be laid out here on this cold ass concrete at 2:30 in the morning, a.m., dying on the side of the road here. And I'm like, I'm not perfect. I didn't always make the best decisions as a kid growing up. But I said, if I'm spared, if I'm fortunate enough, higher power, for you to spare me right now and allow me to get up off this ground, not die, I will spend the rest of my life making sure that I make every second count. I don't waste it, because I've always said, I think in that moment, I mean, listen, I don't wish anyone getting stabbed because it's not fun. But I always say that I think, and this may sound crazy, but getting stabbed was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because it made me learn and realize the thing about time, the reason why it was invented. It was meant for us not to waste it. Like, we go through 24 hours, and we're always saying we can never get enough done in that time. Or when someone passes away, they always, what's the one thing you probably hear at funerals when someone's crying and, I wish I had more time.
Yeah.
I wish I had, and I'm like, and I always say to people, you had time. You just chose not to give that person that time. Some people, go through their days, I'm busy. I'm like, nobody's that busy.
Yeah.
Nobody's that important. Like, if it's important to you, you will make time. Because if I was your child, not your friend, but if I was your kid, you'd make the time. So treat me the same way you would treat your kid. That's why with me in relationships, I don't have friends. I have family. Like the Fast and the Furious, family. We don't have to have the same bloodline, but we're all connected in this planet together as one, and we've got to be able to I think, appreciate each other more while we do here. And I think that that's where a lot of the disconnect. So for you, like, what would you say the difference is from when you started in the business to now?
Mm-hmm.
What are your differences?
Yeah, for me, I think everything was so important. It was so serious, and each role was like, I have to have it. This could be the one that could, be my breakout role. Everything was just so important, and now it's just like, you know what? If it's meant to be, it will be. The things that God has for you alone, and no one can take it from you. Not even Barbie alone. In this industry, there's always going to be someone younger and prettier and thinner and more buff, more handsome, or whatever. It doesn't matter. The things that are meant for you are meant for you, and you don't have to get all worked up. You just have to do your best and trust in the process.
Hey there, it is Katherine Norland. I hope you enjoyed that video. And if you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And if you guys think that this video would bless somebody else or that they need to hear it, please hit the share button. And there's a little bell button too where you can be notified whenever I have a video that comes out so you don't miss a thing. I appreciate you guys. Remember, always live true, love hard, shine bright, and I will see you in the next video.